Yeah, guys, welcome to Azure Global Azure Bootcamp 2021 India. Um, I'm here to represent a topic on Azure Data Lake and Synapse Serverless architecture. So, uh, so what is Azure Synapse? Yeah, okay. As we know, Azure being cloud, being on cloud, people are little bit companies are a little bit hesitant to work on certain things and all that stuff. Certain companies with securities and banks are a little bit hesitant to go on it. But to be honest, we have all started having an internal on-premises cloud. What is it called as ING private cloud? So that there are a lot of private clouds that are being introduced as part of those cloud technologies. So in that, once we hear about the data analytics, the analytics part of the whole data is the real booming area that has been happening over the period of time across the globe. So when we started, when we came, there were some certain technologies that came into picture from Azure, that is called Azure Synapse Analytics. We'll cover the whole area of how it works and how it was done. So, what is Azure Synapse? It's an enterprise analytics service that accelerates time to insight across the data warehouse and big data systems. So, what it does and how does it get integrated? It can integrate your on-premises data, cloud data, your data that is there. Everything is streaming and all this stuff. Then within what is Azure Synapse, that is sitting in between, you have a studio. In case you are querying a smaller set of data set, then you can use a studios and all that stuff. Else you can use external tools like SQL servers and all those stuff. And what's happening within the studio? Within the studio, you have a data integration lake, you have a management, you have a monitoring, and you have security lakes out there, stages out there, where you can set up all these things in Synapse Studio. Then where you can run your SQL. So Apache's Spark is the one that integrates big data, and SQL is the one that is very familiar language that is being used across by developers. So this is something that is very much a so-called heart and soul of the whole Synapse Analytics. Then you have Azure Data Lake Storage. Gen 2, that is part of the Synapse Analytics. Uh, then you have Azure Preview, machine learning and Power BI that can be used for the so-called end display of your data. So that's where the whole Azure Synapse Analytics sits across. Uh, why people wants to go towards Azure? Why should people go towards Azure Synapse Analytics? There are multiple stuffs. So if you remember initially in a so-called old BI solutions, on a old not so old but so-called MSBI technologies, everything that was there, we were never able to convert an unstructured data into insights. The biggest problem that was faced by all was unstructured data within the so-called to bring it to the more uh, to those people, management people, where you can get the insights out of it, a better insight, a better so-called data insight out of it. So having said that, sorry guys, just having a bad cold. Yeah, so said so when you see those kinds of stuffs, there you were not able, but with Azure Synapse, it's so easy that you can run SQL queries onto your so-called your blob storage data, your so-called unstructured data, unrelational data, and can still get a data insight out of it. So that's where we are coming from, Azure Synapse Analytics area. So that way we are making it, and there are so much of ETL where you have no code ETL, where you don't have to code the ETL, you need to just configure the ETL. I will show some demos over it, so to explain it better in a better way, how about why I'm saying no code, nothing. And so these are so these Azure Synapse, the MIMLs, even the MINM, if you go to machine learning and machine learning models also, so they are so much out of the box with no coding experience required. Still people are able to code it, and with the traditional SQL data source database developers, you can even query now the big data as well. So having said that, uh, uh, let's go to the what is the different architecture components. So first, the heartbeat is the Synapse SQL. what is the Synapse SQL? It's just a old, it's a distributed query system for T-SQL. So the language uses still T-SQL, but the engine uses distributed query system. So what happens? It offers it comes in two parts, whether it's a serverless or it's a dedicated. Dedicated is one when you want to have a defined performance, when you want to have a defined uh, so-called performance in cost, performance in so-called uh, areas, so that when you know what are your strikes, up strikes and down strikes, that time it's something that you can use as a, if you go want to towards go that you go to dedicated. But what I suggest, if someone is starting new, starting to learn Synapse Analytics, you should always use a serverless architecture, or someone with a smaller organizations can use serverless architecture and take care of, then they don't have to have a worry about the infrastructure, worry about all those things that is being done by the Synapse SQL by itself. So these are the different things that you can that's the heartbeat of it. Then comes next is the data lake, where your data gets stored. As you're saying, so what it's doing, it's removing the barriers between SQL and Spark together. So you can use SQL and Spark together to make it a very uh, customized, very modernized solution for for your clients, which gives them the better understanding of their data, better understanding of the so-called analysis, and you can tell your data story better. You can so what you can do, you can define tables. So what happens in a serverless SQL, there you can define the metadata, everything like your views, external tables, just like a table on top of your CSV or a Parquet file or JSON file, which where you can query them in a better manner out from a Power BI systems and all those things. So it's just what happens, it just creates a so-called external metadata towards it on top of some point of time, serverless in processing a simple query as well, because of the availability of this of the nodes of the compute nodes at that point of time. So in case if it's happening and you want certain performance at a certain level at certain times, then you can always tweak your nodes to work in that sense. And the biggest architecture or feature within this is that you can in a dedicated mode, you can always do a switch on and switch off. So you know at what time you are going to query the data the most. At that time you can switch it to a switch your dedicated mode. So you can add more compute nodes at that point of time, and then you will be charged accordingly. So your charging part also is a very it's very very generic or very dynamic, in a sense where you can use it as per your need basis. uh, then you have a data integration within that. So what it uses a Azure Data Factory as a part of the component for integrating your for doing the ETL part of the things. You can ingest multiple data sources. You can develop code free ETL. That's something which is going to show it across. uh, then you can use stored procedures, SQL scripts to run into those ingest into those things, and then can run those data across. uh, Having said that, let's so this is the real Synapse SQL architecture, where if you see dedicated, there's a one control node, and rest of them is a compute nodes. So control node sends the data, it distributes a query over the processing different compute nodes, and it returns it on the best case on the best cases availability of the nodes, and then get the data out of it. And what happens in this, they don't you don't need any extra a specific data storage for that to from your Azure storage lake to another in between lake. But for a dedicated one, what it does, it brings it, it distributes the data across the nodes that you have selected across the compute node, and then they use the MPP engine to process the queries in a parallel. So what it happens, one is using a distributed query processing engine, one is using a massively parallel, because you in your dedicated one you have already put up a proper so-called nodes out there to make them understand where they have to run those queries across. Here it's an open-ended, it fetches the data from Azure storage, put it to the nodes that are less busy, and then sends the query to those compute nodes, and then the compute nodes takes gives collates the data and then gives it back to the application. um, what it does as an architecture, so what it does, it uses a distributed computational process across multiple nodes. um, so what is a compute node? Compute is a separate from storage, so they do not go together hand in hand. Storage is something different, so you can always have if for example at some point of time you understand, okay, no, I think my query processing time is taking time, but storage is fine. So what you can do, you can increase only the compute node part of it. You don't have to increase both the storage part as well. So what is this dedicated SQL pool is all about? It's just an abstraction of a computer power that is known as a data warehouse unit. I'll send out the PPT, and I think there are links towards Microsoft sites there. You can have a detailed discussion over it. But for now, we'll keep it to a serverless SQL pool. What is one is scaling is done automatically to accommodate that I told you already. It's uh, so what it does, it uses a four compute nodes to execute a query. That's what you're saying. See, it uses one, two, three, and four compute nodes to execute the so-called query. Uh, Sorry. So what does it happen is uses a node based architecture as and it connects it to a control node, which is a single point of entry for Synapse SQL. So you can only enter to Synapse SQL via a control node, whether it's dedicated or whether it's a serverless. Both the ways you connect to a control node. Control node gets the message, and then it, as per the pools in the SQL server, serverless or a dedicated one, it defines, it distributes over those things, like a serverless SQL pool will utilizes the DQP, the distributed query performances processing that I was telling. And it's small query that will be executed on compute nodes. So what happens, each small query represents a particular task, and you can always go ahead and check each and every compute node, what is being happened and how is being processed and what is the query. So there, with Azure Synapse, you get so much of managed views, system managed views, where you can query all these things and still see it, what is happening from the backend system, that what is the compute node is taking it, and then you can take a decision accordingly, that how you want to go ahead with your architecture. And then uh, so the what happens is DMS is a system. When Azure storage gets the data into the compute nodes, and in terms of SQL serverless pooling, what it does, it goes ahead and fetches the data and joins it in together and sends it back to us. So what happens? So as I told you, so for serverless, it's as you can define, how much query you do, you pay it as per your as per your storage. So so you only so for example, you want compute, at this level, my compute, I'm not going to use a lot of compute capacity. uh, so for SQL serverless, it's done automatically, but for a dedicated one, you can pause the compute capacity at that point of time, and then at operational hours. So that's something that is a very good architect in a costing management system from Microsoft, that helps people, small organization, with a very high value returns on their infrastructure costs. Now, uh, the distribution of computers for process, okay, so for the so-called serverless SQL pool, uh, each is assigned a task and set of files to execute a task on. So what happens, as I told you, when it compute nodes gets the data from Azure storage, it distributes it on the basis of what is the free availability node. And when you're using an external tools to connect to your system, so for example, that your Power BI desktop is in a system, so try to have a desktop and your so-called serverless SQL pool in a same region area or a closer region area. So, for example, you're using a Synapse SQL. You should not be using a Synapse SQL data lake that is in US on a serverless SQL pool. Someone you're connected from Asia, so it has a lag in that. So better have it on the same region. So, for example, if I'm in Singapore, I should use it using a Southeast Asia region out here to use that. So that something is there. Now coming to Synapse SQL Serverless. Why I kept a topic as serverless, because that is something, the very starting point. That's a built-in function. You create your workspace Synapse Analytics, and you will get a so-called built-in SQL Server pool that is serverless. Let me show you a demo over here. Okay. Uh, Give me a second. Okay. Okay. So if you see, let me go to my home. Uh, let's create a Synapse Analytics. I'll not create the complete one, but I'll just create just to show you how it works, how it looks like to be. So I can use my subscription. I'll use my Okay, I'll use the same resource group. I'll not create a new one, and I'll manage resource group. I'll put as uh, so I'm just managing a resource group. So workspace name I'll use as a demo work works, if it works. Yeah, demo works. So region that you can select uh, from subscription. So what is this account name? I'm using demo storage brains, and file system is automatically comes out. So so then you can go security. There's different works. Either you want to use a admin username, either you want to create a new password. You can create your own new user. I said okay, fine, I need to use a demo user. Okay, and I need a password. I can give a password. Okay, then here you have encryption also, in case you want to encrypt your workspace system where you don't want to show the data. Okay, give me a second. Yeah. Okay. So so if you see, you can enable it. So by default, you will be able to connect to your data lake that is as part of the same account, as long as it's the same account or you have access to it. uh, you can have an encryption enabled it, so where you can encrypt your all the Synapse workspace across networking. I have allowed with all the IP address. You can enable the virtual network also. You can manage within your organization. You can manage within the network that is part of the organization. um, I am not going to put any tag, so it will create. So it's successful. It tells me it's going to cost me this much amount of money, but so it's per terabyte. So I think if till the time I'm not using a per terabyte, it's still going to be very less cost across to the whole thing. So if you can imagine, I didn't imagine that we will anytime we'll get in $5 I will get a terabyte of space to work across. So if you see, it creates that. Once I create a click, it will start publishing it to the space. Okay, so if you see, it's getting published. In the meantime, I'll show you. Uh, so it will tell you how it created a one SQL pool and all that stuff. So if I go to this demo, this is Synapse Studio uh, data. Mm, yeah. So if you see, connect to built-in. So built-in is a so it's a serverless built-in architecture. So by default, it gives you a built-in serverless SQL pool as part of your subscription. Till the time it's getting done, we'll open our Synapse. second. It's being worked on. Okay. So if you see, it asking me to add a dedicated pool out here. So that's something. So serverless SQL endpoint, it's already giving you the so-called serverless SQL endpoint on its own. So that's something you can always go. And then coming back to this one, yeah. So this is how it gives you a default serverless pool with itself. So, and it's a very cheap, in a sense, it's a very cost effective thing that you can do it while starting the Azure Synapse journey. uh, so as there's no infrastructure, there's no clusters to maintain, a default endpoint is already provided that I showed you already. So as long as it's connected, you can always start querying your workspace, your Azure data like unstructured data. um, so as we told already, it's being almost the data that you process. So it's as pay as per model. Now coming to the what are the benefits from a SQL server serverless pool benefits. If you okay, so what happens, one, you can start querying your data as long as soon as you got it. You can query your different formats of the data: Parquet, CSV, JSON. If you're using Parquet, that's the best solution because it uses column store indexes. It uses the storage kind of a architecture where it's very easy for it compresses very, it has a very high compression rate, so it makes it very easy to use big data into the things. uh, uh, okay, and then you can always create a logical data warehouse on top of the so-called unstructured data. You don't have to relocate your data, you don't have to transform. It's always it gives you the latest information is getting live or part of it. It is scalable. You can always use a premium serverless, but I'm using a very basic one. uh, I'm sure you must. I forgot to show you while creating that Synapse SQL. So when you create that workspace, it tells you whether you want a premium one or a basic one. So we use the basic one. We don't the premium one you can use if in case you find your performance is little bit is giving you more trouble. But for simple state, for simple just understanding of the data stuff, it's quite a good thing. You can explore your data lake. You can prepare using the service. You can simplify the data transformations. Data scientists can quickly reason about the contents. So it's an open roasted function that they use in SQL. So you can do a very quick quiz like group buys and all those things to get what is then. Data analysts can use with Spark external tables. They can create T-SQL. So they once they have your T-SQL, you can use you can do a lot of things as part of your external tables creation and all that stuff. So there have a lot of benefits across individual roles within the data analytics chain. And then you can always use a Power BI data set on top of your data lake to with the Spark tables as well as the data in the lake. The best use case is using a data in your querying a data in the data lake. That's where this Synapse SQL Server and the data lake architecture comes into picture. So that is the reason that they are very very coupled in a sense, which with a very easy way of interacting between each other. So that way it makes your life very easy as compared to what you would have done it earlier. So for example, you have CSV files that you have to load, the ETL, the SSIS and all that stuff. You can avoid all those things without scratching your head, and can just run your simple SQL queries across the systems. um, what it does as part of the client tools. So it has T-SQLs that we told you already. Then you can create views over it. You can create something called, you will hear a lot of people using the word CTAS. It's external tables as select that you can use because it just uses the metadata. So you can define these related to you can only use the data definition languages across those statements. um, it's a full select is supported across, so you can use select by, group by, having clause, where, and all that stuff, and defining where different ways of querying it. Then you can have you can have different data sources in in your data lake storage, to have your from CSV files to JSON to Park and all those stuffs. You can have security, that is simple SQL security, that you can have it there also. You can use the same here as well. You can have have those so-called Azure Active Directory integration as well within these things, to make it more so-called organizational professional kind of a stuff, where you can add your ADs to it. You can add your user groups to it, as per the roles and responsibilities. So this is something that is very familiar out here, where you can use, and everything you can do it with an Azure Data Studio. So like you have a Visual Studio as part of your MSBI, MS Data Tools, Client Data Tools as part of your SQL BI, and you have Azure Data Studio as part of this one. So what are the best practices while following the serverless, while doing the serverless SQL architecture? Uh, Make sure your client application. Okay, so what I told you is it should be co-located. It should not be out of this. It should not be different regions across. If you want to use it, you need to make sure that you are put it to a global lake across, so that at least people, you have a better performance in a sense. um, so same thing, storage should also be in the same region, as well as the SQL pool should also be in the same. It should not be that I'm creating a pool in US and creating a storage in Asia. So it has to be in the same area. So what you need to make sure that when you partition your files, or so-called tables or across, you have to partition between them 100 MB and 10 GB. Should not go beyond, like you're partitioning every 20 GB across. So you need to be you need to know the scalability of across. uh, so what you need to do, you need to use your bin UTF-8 collision. I'll show you this error, why this error is why they've specifically mentioned that you should use bin UTF collision while trying to filter or set those columns. So that's something is there. I think most of you are very readily available with collision, because when you create your database in your Azure Synapse Analytics, there's no option to change the collations. So that's something you need to be very careful about it. So always cache the results on the client side by using Power BI. So you always use it in the import mode, rather than and refresh it periodically, rather than have a live connection. Because if you have a live connection, it will become a it will depend upon how much of a free capacity at that point of time the system is having, from a from Azure's Synapse Analytics perspective. um, like I told you, larger data set, don't use your studio. Use your SQL Server Management Studio, or an Azure Data ADS services to get the data. um, so because it's a web-based tool, Synapse Studio is a web-based tool, so it doesn't have a so-called, you cannot have a you cannot take the load of loading too much of data, large, you can return a lot of large numbers data sets. So now let me go to the so next is the demo. So let's show you some how you can use this pool sequence pools to do those magic stuff across. So first let me show you a file. Give me a second, where is my demo sequence? Okay, first let me show you the file. How does this file looks like? uh, okay, so this is a for that, let me show you the file. Where is the file? So this is the file that I loaded into the data lake storage. Okay, so it's a simple rate ID and all those files, and then we will use even the taxi data to show you some demos across. So if you see, this is a simple CSV file out there that we have loaded, and then you can start straightforward querying this one, as well as there's one pocket file also. that I will show you. Okay. Where's my pocket file? Okay, let me. Okay, this is here. So okay, so if you see this, this is your storage engine, a storage explorer, where I have put it two files. One is in the demo home taxi data that we just showed you, the CSV format. Another one is your so-called pocket file. It's a simple small trip file across of NYC trip data. So it's a simple data set that I'm using both. And now we'll show you how you can use a SQL serverless pool with this data inside your so-called data lake storage, and how you can do different stuffs across. Um, Let me go to Azure Synapse Studio. Okay. And then we will show you how you can connect those link services, how you can create the ETL. We'll go one step at a time, and then we will go towards that area. Okay. So first file that we saw was a pocket file that we ran. So if, for example, if I just want to see the so-called the whole data set across. Okay. Okay. Let me open the Synapse Studio again, so that at least you guys know where coming how to launch it in. Okay. So I'll just open the Synapse Studio. So once you open it, it looks like this. So it tells you exactly under which Synapse Analytics workspace you are using, and then it will start loading this system, and it looks like something like this. So so then it tells you if you want to ingest, you want to visualize, you want to uh, explore and do these things. So this is what it shows you as part of the whole thing. So um, you can go to the data. If you see, okay, let me open for the new one that we just got it. Wait a second. Okay. Uh, okay, demo works that we just created. Let's open this in the studio. Okay, so we are opening a demo works that is just we just created this workspace. So I'll just show you how does it looks like. So if you see, it has no databases, so you will only have a master database here. You have to create a new database if you want to store some queries across and all this stuff. But you can always see a data lake storage already out there. So what it connected with the, because we put it, remember we put it in those when we were creating this so-called Synapse workspace. So when you're, no, I don't want to open. um it doesn't show me here, give me a second. uh, okay, that is if you remember, we created where this was asking for the Synapse Analytics so-called works, the Gentoo. You can add, then you can even add more. So if you want, you can always add it also. So you can connect to external data, you can connect to integration data set. If you have any, you can create a workspace out here. So it's up to you what you want to add the data lakes, so you can create accordingly. Then what you can do, uh, okay, so let it open. Okay, so it tells me I have two users out here. One is demo home and one is the primary. So you need to use it, the one that has come as a by default one, that I was showing you, that we already have this data here. So this is how it looks like. So if you just want to go and see what is there in your pocket file, just to see what is happening out here, you can just do right click, select. It just shows you. If I want just top 10, I just run it as this one. So see, the performance is a little bit not so good in a sense, because it's retrieving as of now. It's trying to see where the compute nodes and all this stuff and get retrieve the data. So it still took 11 seconds. But if you see in your dedicated mode, it won't take you more than a second out to get this much amount of data out there. So this is how you will get the so-called table structure out here, where you can see across what is happening, what your data looks like. You don't have to do anything. You didn't have to create dedicated and all this stuff. You can create later, in the sense if you want to check the performance. And then you can use your so-called charts, column, legend series. You can create a number of stuff here to see how to get this. If you want to see it as a data, in a sense that you want to capture what is happening across. Okay, now same thing what I can do. I showed you how Parquet file. So you always get a script out here that this is being happen. This is the what Windows is doing it across. So now, for example, I need to I can create an integration dataset out from here. I can create a so for example, which format you want. Uh, I want a Parquet. Usually, I use a Parquet one. Then you can use your import schema. So yes, we just want a schema importation, or you want nothing, so then it will do nothing out here. So what you can do, I'll say I'll import the connection store. This is where it will come there and get the data. So these are very simple steps where you can see it started asking me where to put the data, how the compression will look like. So it's telling you where it will push this data to. Okay, so tell no, I want it to be underscore meta, and I would put it as, so I'll check this connection successful. You have the schema out here. It tells you which scheme what it does. You can import a schema if you just want that one. If you want if you have added parameters, you can add parameters to filter the data. You can create a value and then create a string and then create parameters if what you want to filter it out. Okay, so for now I will just delete it. um, and then just you can preview the data also, what kind of data set is getting created out here. So it failed. Let's see why it failed. Okay, sorry. This is the path where it's trying to get the data from. Okay, so once you preview, so it will show you the data set, and then it will become a data set for your integration, that you can use it as part of your Power BI. You can use it as part of your so-called so-called any Azure analysis services, or some anything that you want to do with that. Now coming back here, I showed you Parquet file. Now let's see how it works for the CSV. uh, I go demo home, text data. This is where my CSV is there. I will again run a new script. Okay, so once I did that, it shows me this data already for the scripts. So you can imagine this a non. Okay, so okay, let me ignore because I know first row is not not is this column. So I'll just use the second one just to so you can see this is coming across. Okay, so what I can do, okay, I don't want all the columns, so what I will do, I will put, okay, I just need with this column. So first I will run it as one. You can use your same SQL way that we used to do in SQL for MySQL. You just select the data, it will run that much amount of query only. So this is the column name. So what I can do, I can go ahead. I'll say I just need I just need fair amount, uh, any other amount, total amount, trip distance. Okay, okay. What I will do, I will say I will only need, you can customize your name, rate ID. So I'll first is as rate ID. I'll put it as float. This is what you put as in space of one, that is the column name that you want to position it. Then you can use, I'll use the fair amount, fair, as float, and 7. uh, okay, I'll just use these two just to show you. uh, okay, so as a result is there, so I will just click run. So okay, yes, because the formatting is not there, so run. See, so it gives me the rate ID in the fair amount. So this is how you can query the systems. And then for example, I need to run those more complex queries across. Let's go back here. Let me show you certain areas. Yeah, so this was simple one that we did it there. This is the just the CSV version and the Pocket version. I'll show you one JSON also here. Okay, now the next part, to avoid the first row I already told you. Okay, if you don't want to key in every time the whole, if you see here, this part of the query, the bulk, it gives you the whole path where it is formatted out. So what you can do, instead of that, you can always use a so-called smaller, you can create a data source, external data source. Okay, another thing, if I run a data source, I need to have a database out there developed out here. So for that, you need to go to your database, go to your system, create your SQL database. Okay, you can connect to an external data also, but if you don't want, you can create a database for your workspace. Create your database workspace and create your locals, local variables, local stuff out here to work on your queries and all that stuff. So once I create this database, you can simply create this database, giving it a serverless, and then put it the database name and then just create. That's why the collation error comes. That's where I'm going to show you one collation error also. Okay, so if you see this one, you can create this external data source as taxi. So what it will happen, then you don't have to key in the everything. You only need to just key in this much part of the whole thing, and you can use. Then I've used a COVID, that's a public data set that is available from Azure. So we have used that as well. So I will show one that data lake storage as well. So you just use those, and then you can use it in a C. So you can use the bulk where you want to find it, and your data source as a taxi. So it will have a so-called so it will you don't have to put it every time around everything. um, Having said that, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so I will remove this first one. I'll remove the third one. Okay, so what I so once okay, I will show you this one later. Okay, so now you can simply query your dataset the way you want to. So for example, I just need this the dataset from I need just a okay, I will remove this. So you can just query your data set as the way you will query in your SQL. So it will just by group by country name and just run it. So if you run it, it will just simply send you the data sets across. So the open row set function is actually helping your SQL system across to make it a very easy for everything. Um, So it gives you the data name as, and you can put some population as text, as simple as that. So as dd, you can put any column name if you want. It works as SQL only. So that something is already there. That's something that I'm not going to cover here. So okay, now if you want from a query data set, for example, now people will say I want to query the whole data set, whole things. I will show you. I think we are running out of time also. Okay, so what you can do, for example, you want to run your you want to run a Parquet file. You want to the Parquet file is divided into years, different months across. So that's how the partition has happened. So what you can do, you can just go to this is this okay. So what you can do, you can specific the same thing I showed you. Just if you want to just specific the columns that you want to do it, you can run it over that. If you want so-called on a particular Parquet file you want to run the query, you can run on a particular Parquet file. So for example, snappy.parquet. So it's purely telling which month, which where you want to run those files across. And so for example, in this Parquet file, what we are done, so this is just this ran on the all the Parquet files. But here what we did was that we put the file path as 2017, so it's running on a particular file path. So and it's running only for the first 3 months. So because that file path 2 is actually the months partition that we have done in the Parquet files. So this is uh, how you can query your Parquet files very easily. Then comes the next part, the CSV. That's the major one. How you do it. So, for example, I need to read subset. I need to read all the CSV file within a data set. So, what I will do, I will use my data source to the folder, and from that folder, what I will do from bulk, I will put a star CSV that it will read all the CSV files while querying the data. But later on I just need a I need to read all the files irrespective CSV, irrespective whatever file it is there. What I will do, I will just read I will just put a slash and leave it across, and then it will read all the files within that folder. Then if you want to read on a particular so-called particular multiple folders with a multiple, so how would you do? You can use this star character to configure the demo, configure the way you want to do it, and then you can use it to use it to review and check it out. So this is something that you can do it as part, and then you can similarly you can use it in a different manner, your star character, to read the files, multiple stuff, multiple stories across. So this is one part of how you as a data, once you get the serverless SQL pool, how would you get to the actual how you can build on a but on a very small scale your solution for a starting. It could act as a starting point for you guys all. Then once you come to this integrating, okay, before that I wanted to show you the Power BI. So how did I connect to this Power BI? So first let me okay, before that, let's create a small ETL how you can use it as part of your so-called how you can use the copy the smaller ETLs. I'll just show you how it looks like. Okay, give me a second, let it move there. I can remove. Okay, let me create a new one for here. Okay, I'm getting a new pipeline. So it's just pipe. So what you want, how do you want your activities to happen? So you need to understand what you want from Synapse. You want a SQL stored procedure if you have created one. Okay, before that I wanted to show you create table and create views in the so-called Synapse SQL serverless pool. uh, where is it? I think it is somewhere here. uh, I open somewhere. uh, because I'm going to use that views and there, so I just wanted to show you before. Yeah, okay, what is this external table looks like? What is this external table all about? This is nothing but just a metadata on top of sitting on top of your so-called unstructured files. So this can be queried from Apache Spark tag and all that stuff. And then you can always have a view also. And how does this view looks like? I just show you here. Uh, uh, View. Okay, so if you see, this is simple view that they've created on. Remember I showed you file path 1 and file path 2. So file path 1 is a year and file path 2 is a month. So that's why we're taking 1, 2, and 3. So this is simple view that you can create, as simple as that, and then you can filter the views also, and we can put a where condition and all this stuff. So it actually queries the data from the data set itself, and then present you the view of that data. So you can use these. So these are the two concepts that you should really remember: the external table and the views, because actually you're on serverless SQL pool. You're not going to store the data as part of a database. It's just going to be put it as part of put it on the on just on as a view structured, or a so called. Okay, so now coming back, and everyone is using a cluster column store cluster indexes. So we need to be so you need to know that what kind of stuff to be used across. Okay, so coming back to the external table that I showed. So where is the integration link? Yeah, so coming back to this integration lake pipeline too. So what kind of stuff you want to do? You can always use your data lake analytics. What kind of stuff you're gonna use it? So I said, okay, fine. I want to copy data. I can move. I can do a lot of transformations. Let me show you all the transformations first. Wait. Okay. So for example, I can use this copy data. I'll just keep. So you can always use a for each loop container to do other stuff. You can do the if conditions. You can use all the similar kind of stuff that we used to do it as part of the SSIA. So it's simple SSIS without coding, as simple as that, to make it simpler in a sense. So what it does, it tells you what data you want to copy. So you can set your timeouts, you can set your retry intervals and all those conditions that you want. Okay, so I will tell description, some test description. Okay, as part of a source I have. Okay, how I'm getting this one, I'll show you here first. Manage, you go to the manage situation, manage, and see your what are your link services already out there. So it will tell you your what your pools are. You have got a one. You can create a new serverless pool also in case you want, as per your performance level. So for example, if I do this one, it tells me estimated cost is per $12 per hour. So for example, if I reduce it, it's up to you how you want your data warehouse to be across. So this is something that is very so-called so this is the dedicated pool that pricing that you can change as per your settings across. So serverless, you will always get a by default. Okay, so serverless you will always get by default. So this is your serverless pool. Okay, you can see here, and from your Azure Synapse you can always uh, get the endpoint of your SQL Server database, SQL Server serverless endpoints, and you can get. So once you get that, what you can do, you can go to this link services. I've added my Power BI. What I will do, try to redo it just to show you. So something I want to do Power BI. So if I want to link a Power BI to Azure Synapse, you can create this one. Uh, okay, give me a second. Let me delete this one. Okay, so connect to Power BI. I'll put it as a Synapse Power BI WS. It asks me which workspace I need. I can put it the workspace. This is the tenant that I'm using it. Okay, so I just go and create it. So it just shows me out there. Okay, so now uh, then I want to create a linkage to the database that we just created from here, the demo DB. How we can do that so that I can use that as part of my pipelines. So how you can connect to Synapse. So what you need to do, you can go connect, go to your Synapse Analytics, Azure Synapse Analytics, continue. Okay, so it tells you what connection string you can put it across. Okay, so I tell it Azure Synapse Analytics underscore demo. Okay, test. Okay, I'll say I'll enter manually because I've copied the server link. What I can do, okay, uh, okay, it's here. So you can just uh, copy the serverless mode and just paste it here and put your database name to your so-called we put it as a demo DB and use your authentication that you want, the way you want. I've used man entity because it's an open for me, because it's a very uncensored data, so I've just put it a managed one. So I just put a create here and then it will create the service. So just that something I just wanted to show you. I'll discard the changes. Now coming back to the integration lake, because I think it's shortage of time, I need to go faster on this, the ETL. So once I see this copy data, I can put the source. So that's the source that is coming from analytics table 1. Okay, now it's asking me because we created this external table out there. Okay, it says none. I don't want to add any other stuff. What does this sync mean? Sync means is that where it's going to sync this data set to. I said okay, put it to analytics table 1. So it's asking what copy method you want to put it across. So I can say I want uh, I'll keep it as a default for now because we need to just go ahead and do it. And then the mapping, uh, so import schemas. So once you import, you will know which one is going where, so you can understand exactly what is happening. Okay, so it's done, settings is done. So we'll just currency. Okay, this is how you can create the whole ETL of yours. You can do multiple surf purposes across there and then can publish it, and then that data set can be used by your Power BI to publish on the reports. So this is how you can have a serverless SQL pool used without having an infrastructure, without having actual systems hosted anywhere. You can just use those things and get your data sets to the end users. This is something that is excites me as part of the developers community, because that's something that gives me a uh, helps me use a lot of things across, without having to pay so much, and then can elaborate on that architecture and can go to a premium. Even it's just not that the basic one is a very slow performance, but if you go to the serverless premium, you can even use for smaller organizations that doesn't have a quick response, doesn't require a very quick response, or doesn't require very quick services, but still that something can be also managed across there as part of the premium services. Where is it?